2 weeks into the season, the Rangers still have the best record in the American League. And look out, League, because Corey Seager is finally back.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about Wyatt Langford going on the IL. We're talking about Corey Seager being back. The best start of the season. Nay, the best start in years. Yeah, that's right, I said nay. For Tyler Mahle. And just a little bit about the rest of this offense coming along as well. Now, yesterday, the Rangers placed Wyatt Langford on the IL. He will be out for at least 10 days with an oblique strain. The second oblique strain in the span of about a month for Wyatt Langford. He also had one back in spring training where he was out for 3 weeks. That was on his left side. This one is on his right side. He tweaked it a couple of days ago, but he thought it was fine. He thought he could play through it, but then he re-aggravated it in that middle game, that frustrating game against the Cubs that the Rangers lost on the first swing of his at-bat in the 7th inning, and the Rangers said, nope, they got an MRI. And unfortunately, he is going to be out for at least 10 days. But this offense just had not stepped up so far this season. They did in that game that they lost in the middle game of this series. And then they stepped up again, powered by the power of Corey freaking Seager. We'll talk more about the rest of this offense. But I want to get into Corey Seager getting hot because that is the most important thing. He is the highest paid player on the Rangers, position player group. Jacob deGrom is making a few more dollars than him this year. But in terms of hitters, there is nobody more important to this lineup than Corey Seager. And I've said it all week. I've said it honestly all season long, is that Corey Seager, yeah, he had been bad. He had been struggling a bit this season, but I'm not worried about Corey Seager. As someone messaged me on Twitter after Corey Seager's 3 for 3 strikeout game in the opener of this series and said, I'm worried about Corey Seager. And I said, don't. Just hey, don't. Because in this game, these 2 home runs, one of them a bit of a lucky home run, a unicorn home run, if you will, a home run in only one of 30 parks. And, well, it only needed to be a home run in one of the 30 parks because it went out. But one thing that the broadcast pointed out, shout out to Mike Bassick on the broadcast pointing this out, because I didn't really notice it consciously. I think subconsciously I kind of noticed it. But Corey Seager's changed his batting stance a little bit. And he's tweaked it a couple of times now this season. Last year, the last couple of years, it's been pretty much the same. Now, here's what it looks like if you're watching on YouTube. On the left, you may remember this sequence. Corey Seager in Game 1 of the World Series. He on the left, he's about to tie it with one swing. And then on the right, that is August 29th last year against the Chicago White Sox, his 30th home run of the season. So notice they look, pretty much the same. His knees are kind of bent. They're kind of together. He's like a little bit more open with that front foot on the right than he is on the left, but his hands are in the same place, his head is in the same place. Maybe he's leaning in a little bit more in 2024, but it's basically the same stance. So let's keep that 2024 up there, and then we'll go to what he was doing early on in this season. Early on in this season, he was very open. We'll keep the World Series up there. So this is what he looked like early on in the season. No, that was this. Okay, hold on. I'm not used to putting this many things on there. Okay, there we go. This is it. This is on the left. If you're watching on YouTube, just my face completely obscured. On the left is what he was doing early on in the season. He was basically just standing straight up, upright. He was not, no bent leg. He wasn't kind of crouched like he had been in years past. His feet are, parallel with each other. And then the at-bat on the right, that was the second home run he hit of the day. So notice he's, still his back is straight. He's not leaning in as much as he used to, but that back leg, that left leg, it's, in and bent a little bit more. He's not just kind of standing straight up, just waiting to hit. and it was not very effective, that swing change. He was doing that stance, I believe, in spring training, to the best of my memory, on the left, the just standing straight up. But then this stance was a little bit more open. He's, just a little bit different than he was in 2023 or 2024. This is, two pretty big stance changes for him in the span of about 10 days. But the thing about good players like Corey Seager is that they don't suck for long. That's the difference between them and mediocre big leaguers, is that, mediocre big leaguers, still hard thing to do, but they'll have, 4 to 6 to sometimes 8 weeks where they're just in an absolute drought, where they are just struggling, just going through it in the worst way. And when you get to the best of the best, like guys like Corey Seager, guys like Aaron Judge, guys like Shohei Ohtani, the best hitters in the game, they don't suck for very long. They make adjustments quickly when they are struggling, and they implement those adjustments, and then they adjust to the adjustments to the adjustments. It's all a game of cat and mouse of, which came first, the chicken or the egg, or the egg or the chicken, or the chicken or the egg. And you just have to keep on adjusting. That's what the best players do. And that's why Corey Seager, I wasn't worried about Corey Seager, because he's been doing that. He's been making those adjustments. He's been, having short slumps for his entire career, because he's just a very good baseball player. That's why the Rangers paid him, $325 million to stay here over 10 years, which is looking like an absolute bargain with how good he is. But I think that with Wyatt Langford going down and Seager, coming back up, being this version of Corey Seager, that second home run, that was no cheapie. That would have been a home run in basically every ballpark. Not actually every ballpark, just 27 out of 30 ballparks, but it would have been a home run basically everywhere, 105 miles an hour. And with this one good game, heck, really with a couple of good games in a row, Corey Seager has gone from his batting average, his on base, his slugging, all being below 300. Well, the batting average is still at 220 after this game, but the OPS has jumped all the way above 700 for the first time all season at 712. His OPS plus is 108. 2 home runs in one game, and that'll do it. He's still striking out a bit more than Corey Seager usually does. He's still got some fine-tuning, tinkering to do, but in that game where he hit the home run, his first home run of the season on Sunday, it's starting to looking a little bit more like himself. But really, that game yesterday, I thought, okay, those are some swings that look more like the real Corey Seager we know. Those line drives that are 100, 105 miles an hour just past the second baseman into right field. That's when Corey Seager's at his best, is when he's doing things like that, when he's hitting pitches like that, when he's not taking first pitch strikes right down the middle. That's what he was doing the first, week and a half of the season. And you're like, okay, that's not Corey Seager. That's not him, pouncing on a first pitch and tying it with one swing, one pitch in. That's more the Corey Seager that we know. That's the Corey Seager that can power this offense. And even Marcus Semien was also having some better at-bats in this one, hitting a ball over 100 miles an hour, having a couple of hard-hit balls, including one that, would have been a home run in just Houston on the first pitch of the game. I really thought that he got to it. If the wind was a little bit different, if it was like it was for Jonah Heim's home run late on in this game, Wrigley is just such a unique park with the wind changing so frequently and so dramatically, that I thought that Marcus Semien had a home run on that first pitch. He also worked a walk at a 102-mile-an-hour single that just glanced off the glove of an elite defender at shortstop in Dansby Swanson. But if these two guys start to get going, I mean, that's making you start to see this team, really hit its stride. I mean, the pitching, it's probably not going to stay this elite. I don't know that Nathan Eovaldi is going to have a 2.29 ERA for the entire season. I feel very confident that Jack Leiter's going to have an ERA that goes north of 1 at some point this year. Not to doubt him, but a 0.9 ERA through 2 starts, he's looked incredible. I think that Tyler Mahle is probably going to have an ERA north of 2. Right now it sits at 1.32. In a minute I'm going to talk about how incredible Tyler Mahle looked and why I'm very perplexed by it. But these two guys at the top of the lineup, they don't suck for long. And they've sucked a little bit. It's been 10 games. It's really not been that long. It's been 13 games that the Rangers have now played. They are still first in the AL West. They're heading to Seattle for a big series, but when you have everybody or the vast majority of your lineup slumping at the same time, it's very rare for that to happen. And when you have guys this good who have slumps this short, they break out of them, and they break out of them with a couple of hot streaks. And so, you add Josh Young back to this lineup, even with the loss of Wyatt Langford for at least 10 days, maybe a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as the 3 weeks that he missed in spring training. But you start to see some good signs from him, from Jake Berger, from Jonah Heim all season long. Jonah has been a big, big bright spot on this team. And we're going to talk about why I'm very, very excited about what this offense is going to do and how this team, still keeps on winning, even when their bats hadn't come up. They did it with Tyler Mahle. We're talking about how Tyler Mahle dominated his best start in 3 years right after this. This show is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all that artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or you need energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. So visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. Shout out to the Rangers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow, we'll be back and talking a little bit more big picture about what these Rangers look like 2 weeks in, a little bit about the minor league system, and I don't know, maybe I'll work in some extension talk with Wyatt Langford. It just feels like a little bit more of a bummer to talk about with him on the IL. Not that I don't think the Rangers are going to extend him because he is having one IL trip. It's just a little bit less fun to talk about a player when you're not going to be able to see him for at least, I think 8 more days at this point. But anyway, we were talking about Tyler Mahle, the start of the year for him, the best start he's had since 2022. That was the last time that he went 7 innings, and he was very economical with his pitch count. 94 pitches, 66 strikes, only 4 strikeouts. I don't believe he had a swing and a miss until maybe the 3rd inning. It took a while, but only 2 hits, 1 run, which did end up being earned, 1 walk, which was pretty much just working around the guy who's been the best hitter in all of baseball so far this season in Kyle Tucker. But he was dominant. He was very, very good. And he also did something that no Rangers pitcher has really done so far this year. He limited the running game. Now, the best way to limit the running game is to not have any base runners. That's the best way to limit the running game. I don't know how many more games the Rangers have had this season where nobody has stolen a base on them, but credit to Mike Bassick again on the broadcast. He was making some really good points, pointing out some things that were definitely worth noticing, but how much Tyler Mahle, changed how long he was holding, how early he would come set. And so he would get the ball, put it in his glove, wait, throw. And then sometimes he'd get it, wait, throw. It's just, he varied his timing so much, which is what you have to do as a starting pitcher in general, even before these new rules about limiting the number of times that you can try and pick a runner off. I mean, you can only throw over twice, and if you don't get him on the 3rd time, that's a balk, and he gets a free base. And, well, with how poorly the Rangers have done at throwing out opposing base stealers, they might as well just do that and get it over with. Just throw over 3 times and get it over with. I mean, a single has basically been a double the entirety of this series. But him showing pitchers, other starting pitchers in this rotation, the blueprint of like, okay, you can't just get it and go every single time. I really like how a lot of the Rangers pitchers are very deliberate, especially Rocker. He's very, very deliberate. He works very quickly. And I think that's good. I think that keeps him, in the right headspace, in the right, timing, everything. It helps everything else work out. But it's just something you got to work on, especially with how effective, base stealers have been so far this season against the Rangers. The catchers they've made decent throws for the most part. There've been a few too many errant throws, but I think it's because they're trying too hard. They're throwing it too hard because the base stealer is able to get such. Base stealers have been able to get such good jumps on basically every pitcher on this Rangers staff so far this season. Outside of, Cody Bradford was pretty good at holding runners, but unfortunately he's on the 60-day IL and he's not going to be back until, end of May, early June at the earliest. We'll see how much that he ends up playing a factor this season, which is just a huge bummer. But Tyler Mahle stepping up in this way, this is big. This is a big, bad deal. Bad meaning good, in the 80s sense of the word. But him, just pounding the strike zone. All of his misses were quality misses. I mean, they were barely missing. And the thing that surprised me the most is that, when Mahle threw his first fastball, he was below 90 miles an hour. I thought, uh-oh. This is not usually an effective way to pitch, and usually it means, that he's hurt. I mean, last year when the velocity dipped way down at the end of the season, they pulled him early from that third start and said, okay, yeah, this shoulder is having issues, and he's going back on the IL, and we're shutting him down for the year. This start, he averaged 90.4 miles an hour with a four-seam fastball. On the season, it was at 93 heading into this, over 93. And in years past, he's more effective when he's 94, 95. And it determines a lot, that fastball velocity, because he's such a fastball-heavy pitcher. I mean, he threw 52 of them, of his 94 pitches in this start. And, he only got 7 swings and misses on 25 swings, but he had 11 called strikes, 19 called strikes all day long, just 9 whiffs. Only 1 whiff came on the splitter, only 1 came on the slider, no whiffs on the cutter. But he was effective. And this is a good lineup. This wasn't just some, run-of-the-mill, terrible, White Sox lineup that he was rolling against, though the White Sox have been better offensively this year than they were last year. Hard to be worse. But this is a lineup that just bullied the crap out of Rangers pitchers these last 2 games. Heck, they got to Nathan Eovaldi pretty good. They got to the Rangers' A side of their bullpen in the game before pretty darn good, and scoring 10 runs in the game before. 16 combined runs for them in the first 2 games of the series, and just the 2 runs in this game against the Rangers, 1 coming against the Pen. And Tyler Mahle being able to save this pen, so much of the pen threw so much in that game. That was why it was so frustrating, why I was so incredibly indignant about that second loss. I mean, the first one, Nathan Eovaldi, not at his best. You throw it to the B side of the pen, and the Rangers get blanked by Justin Steele dealing. Well, it happens. Justin Steele's a really good pitcher, and so is Shota Imanaga. He is an incredible pitcher. But Tyler Mahle being able to go 7 innings the day after a night game where the Rangers had to use their pen to cover 4 innings. It should have been 5 if they hadn't, blown a lead and given up 4 runs, granted unearned runs, but still runs in the bottom of that 8th inning to end up losing the game. And him being able to keep the Rangers using the only 2 high leverage guys they didn't use in that game the night before. Go to Robert Garcia for an inning and a third, and then go to Luke Jackson for 7 pitches and 2 outs and close it out. Not a save situation, but still keeping him fresh because he hadn't pitched all series. He hadn't pitched since last Saturday. So you throw him in there, get him just a couple of outings, both of these guys, and then you head into the Seattle series with your pen fresh, with a day off, everybody getting that day of travel. It's just a good spot to put this team in. And while he was just averaging, 90 miles an hour with that velocity, maybe the Rangers have found something with pitching a little slower. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi this year, his fastball velocity is down significantly from what it was last year. And, in years past, both of these guys have been very, very reliant on having, averaging 95, 96, whatever with the fastball, but they're having these great starts. I mean, in Eovaldi's best start of the year was the fastball was averaging 92, 93 or so. It was down pretty far from where it had been in years past. Usually when he's at his best, it's, 95, 96. Some starts will even average 97, but he's able to find effectiveness with, averaging 93, and Tyler Mahle able to find effectiveness averaging 90 miles an hour. Heck, he threw a 4-seam fastball that was 86.9 miles an hour. You usually, unless you're a submariner, a lefty usually, unless you've got something super, super weird with your delivery, guys usually can't have any success if you're throwing any fastballs at, below 87 miles an hour. I know it's 0.1 below, but still below 88. Like, you're not usually having any success, especially using it as your primary pitch. I don't know what Tyler Mahle found. After the game, he said he was asked how he was able to go so deep in this game and be so effective, and he said, well, I was just pounding the zone, throwing strikes. It was more than that. There was something more to that. He is an elite command pitcher. When he's on at his best, he is just dotting it up right there on the corners, and he was doing that a lot in this game. Whenever he'd miss, it'd be, by an inch or two, and it would be missing in places where you can't get hurt. He'd be missing a couple inches off the plate, just, breathing on the edges of the strike zone, just a hair's width outside of actually being called strikes, the pitches that he's missing. And, that's set up by how good he is in the pitches that he's hitting. He's hitting right there on the edges of the strike zone, living bottom corner, top corner, up and away. He is living in all four quadrants of this strike zone, and he was able to be very, very effective, even without a whole lot of swing and miss on that splitter, even with the splitter, down 1.5 miles per hour. The yearly average is 84 with the splitter. Usually that's more 85, 86 or so. And this game, it was averaging under 83 miles an hour. He even threw one below 80. That's usually not an effective way to pitch, but he found a way. The slider was averaging just 82 miles an hour. The cutter was averaging just 83 miles an hour. That was down 2.5 miles an hour from where it was on the year. But I don't know what it is. He's found a way to dominate. He found a way to dominate against this very, very good Cubs lineup. I was honestly a little too low. I'm kind of regretting not picking the Cubs to at least make the postseason this year, because this is a bona fide fantastic team. I mean, we saw how good Justin Steele was. Shota Imanaga was fantastic. And the Rangers still were able to take advantage because their bats are looking so much better. And it's not just because of Corey Seager. We'll talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. They've got all kinds of changing odds right now for the AL West. Right now, the Rangers, the favorites to win the AL West at plus 100. Astros down there in second at plus 220. Mariners at plus 320 despite winning that series against the Astros just this week. The Rangers right now have the 7th best odds to win the World Series at plus 1,700. They are ahead of the Astros, who are tied with the Cubs at plus 2,200. Also at 2,200, Padres, Red Sox as well. Mariners down there at plus 3,200. The only teams in the AL with better odds to win the World Series right now than the Rangers, according to FanDuel. New York Yankees at plus 750 and the Baltimore Orioles at plus 1,600. So go check out all the action. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Shout out to the Air for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. We're back on Monday talking about this weekend series against the Mariners. Should be a very, very good series, especially if the Rangers' bats are going just like this. Because it wasn't just Corey Seager that was leading the way. He did have a couple of hits, both of them home runs, both of them, unfortunately, solo shots, but he wasn't the only one who homered in this game. Jonah freaking Heim. Have yourself a day, Jonah Heim. A multi-hit game, including a big old 2-run homer, his 3rd of the season. He's hitting over 300 at 310 right now. He has got a 931 OPS in with Wyatt Langford on the IL. Now, the oblique strains are weird. They are a weird injury. They are, unnoticed until they're noticed, if you know what I mean. I mean, you can't be walking around on a bum ankle and not know that you have a bum ankle. But with an oblique, usually when it's strained or stressed, usually you can't tell until you start doing those big twisting motions, which if you start to do those, then you can make it even worse. So like, for instance, swinging a baseball bat or throwing a ball or pitching. Usually it's around 4 weeks or so, 4 to 6 weeks for that grade 1 strain. We saw it be a minor strain early on this season, so that was a 3-week recovery period for Langford. He said that this felt less severe than the earlier one. So maybe it's less than 3 weeks. Maybe it's just 10 to 12 days. The Rangers have a lot of off days coming up, and that's part of why they ended up actually putting him on the IL. They got an off day today. They've got an off day on Monday. They've got an off day on the 21st as well. So he's eligible to come back on the 19th. That would be, the second game, the middle game of that Dodgers series. And if you needed a couple more days after that, say the 21st is when he's actually ready, or the 22nd, you can give him basically 2 full weeks, and he has 3 off days. So there's 3 fewer games that he's missing. It was kind of a similar thing to Jack Leiter, and I guess kind of a similar thing to Josh Young, who would have been ready a few days earlier. It just seems like the Rangers are being more cautious, or maybe these injuries are just worse than they say? Because this was twice now in the span of a week where the Rangers said, "Oh, this guy will be fine. He came out of the game early, but everything's fine." They got things checked out, and it was worse. I mean, Jack Leiter came out of that game with a blister. They thought, "Nah." They said, "Oh, nah, he'll be fine. We're just being precautious. We think we caught it early." And then, the very next game, the next time they spoke with the media, Jack Leiter was on the 10-day IL. And then the same thing with Wyatt Langford that said, "Nah, it's just a little twinge. We just want to be more cautious than anything." And then immediately the next day, Wyatt Langford's on the IL. So maybe take every one of these injury updates post game with several grains of salt. But with Wyatt Langford on the IL, I mean, he was the Rangers' most consistent hitter for the first couple weeks of this season. I mean, he's got an OPS of 894. He's the team leader with 4 home runs, including that incredible home run. A couple of really, truly exceptional home runs, including one against Mason Montgomery, former Texas Tech great. The lefty who throws 100 for the Rays, a pitch down and in. Nobody's squaring that up, and he turned on that and just lasered it for a home run. But with Wyatt Langford on the IL, with so many bats slumping, it seemed like, okay, well, this offense needs to step up like right now. And Corey Seager said, "Aye, Captain, I'm here." And Jonah Heim said, "Hey, I've been here the whole time. I've been crushing it the whole time." 3 home runs for him on the season. He's got a 931 OPS. He hasn't walked yet, which is a little surprising, but hey, if he's swinging the stick like this, if he's coming up with these clutch hits, deepening this lineup as the Rangers 8 hitter. He's the Rangers 8 hitter. He has a 931 OPS. This was what it looked like in 2023. You look up and down this lineup and you're like, oh my God, there's no breaks. There's not a single break in this lineup. Heck, the Rangers 7 through 9 hitters combined for 5 hits in this one. They scored just 2 runs. They drove in 2 runs and they were dominant. I mean, it's just all the way up and down this lineup is so darn good and so darn deep. And yet again, the Rangers have Josh Young in the lineup, and they score 6 runs in back-to-back games with Josh Young inserted in this lineup. He had a couple of really, really hard hit balls in this one. If not for Pete Crow Armstrong in center field, the Rangers might have scored, 9 or maybe even 10. I mean, Jake Berger had an incredibly hard hit ball in this one that was had a 950 expected batting average, 106.6 miles an hour to be precise. 950 expected batting average, and PCA out there in center field. I think the best defender of the outfield, maybe the best just defender in baseball. He is just so darn elite. He tracks it down and grabs that thing from being a double or maybe even a triple in the gap with basically any other center fielder. Not even just a mediocre or a bad defensive center fielder, but I think anybody else besides PCA. And the Rangers have a couple more hits. I mean, Josh Young had a fly out, 105.2 miles an hour off the bat, a good launch angle. I mean, it had a 930 expected batting average. That was a fly out as well. I mean, Josh Young also had a double in the gap that would have been a homer in 12 different stadiums. I mean, Josh Young is putting some good wood to the baseball. And seeing Jake Berger, even with that lineup, he also had a single just blooped into the shallow outfield. Seeing Jake Berger hitting the ball with authority in the air, that is a good thing. That is a good sign for this lineup because Berger had been, well, if not for Jock Peterson, he had been kind of the worst hitter in this lineup. He had only walked just once. He'd struck out 10 times, nearly not quite a 25% strikeout rate, but seeing just more of these guys, again, I said it earlier in the show, these guys are too good to suck for this long. And when everybody's cold at the same time, they're all overdue for a hot streak. And if you have everybody in this lineup cooking at the same time, then boy, howdy, look out. I mean, and this Mariners pitching staff is pretty good. It's not quite as good as it's been in years past. They're dealing with an injury to one starting pitcher for it feels like the first time in forever. I believe it's Logan Gilbert that is on the IL. No, Logan Gilbert is starting. It is the other tall lefty, George Kirby, who is dealing with, I believe, a shoulder issue. He has not pitched so far this season, and we'll see when he ends up pitching, if he ends up pitching this year. They've also got 2 Luis Castillos. Just be aware of that. One of them is the one that we all know. The other one is less good. We will not see the less good Luis Castillo in this series, I don't think, because he pitched in the finale against Houston, so I don't see them starting him in this series. Yeah, it's going to be Bryce Miller, who has had a rough start to the season. My personal nemesis on Friday night, because he spells his name with a Y. He also went to A&M. He's also on the Mariners. Just a perfect storm for me to be an absolute hater. Then it's Kumar Rocker versus Brian Wu on Saturday. Then in the finale, Nathan Eovaldi versus Logan Gilbert. Gilbert has been very, very good. Bryce Miller has had some struggles so far this year, and I think this game one on a Friday is going to be a big opportunity for this Ranger offense to just pounce. Miller has been very, very fastball heavy. I'm hoping that this is a game where Jock Peterson can get going. I talked about it on yesterday's show that I'm a little worried about Jock Peterson pushing a bit too much, especially I was even more worried when Wyatt Langford went on the IL that Jock Peterson would say, okay, well, now it's really on me to save this offense because nobody's hitting and I've got to hit. I've been, I was brought in just to hit and just to hit righties. So if I'm not even doing that, then what the heck am I doing? I get the pressure. And the reason I was concerned was him saying, oh, I need to be the first one to have this torpedo bat. And he'd been having a lot of success without torpedo bats for the rest of his career. And guys who are, the elite of elite, the best of the best, the Aaron Judges, the Corey Seagers, the Shohei Ohtanis, they're not using torpedo bats because they don't need them. They don't need to change up what they're doing. Corey Seager's made a few tweaks to his swing, to his stance, but that's just kind of Corey Seager, the tinkerer. And so far, at least in that game, we saw a lot better results. I don't know if we'll end up seeing him go back to the stance that he had in 2024 or 2023. I can't tell you why he went away from it. He doesn't talk to reporters that much, so it might be a little while before we get a straight answer about that. But I trust Corey Seager's process. Well, why would you not? I mean, it's been nothing but successful. But with Corey Seager starting to break out, with Jake Berger showing some signs of life, with Jonah Heim absolutely crushing it, and Josh Young's return, I think that this lineup can stop putting so much pressure. Everyone can stop putting so much pressure on themselves to break out and be the one to save this offense, which was kind of what it felt like they got caught into last year, of just everybody saying, okay, I got to be the one to save us. No, it's my turn. I've got to be the one to step up and carry this offense. And it led to just an offensive downturn. And, when you stop pushing so much, you stop being so anxious about every single at bat, making sure every single pitch you're making the best decision, doing your most to help the team. When you got Corey Seager in your lineup, it takes a lot of pressure off of everybody else. And when Corey Seager is on a streak like he's on right now, it's about to be an offensive bonanza for this Rangers squad. And hopefully it's going to start continue even more this weekend in Seattle. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.